What if I told you that the richest tribe in Filipino culture isn't the one with the tallest skyscrapers, the largest bank accounts, or the most political power? What if their wealth is measured not in pesos, but in gold that glows under mountain soil, in epics whispered by firelight, and in traditions older than colonizers' maps? Tonight, we journey deep into the highlands of the Philippines to uncover a story rarely told, a story of pride, resistance, beauty, and hidden treasure. This is the search for the richest tribe in Filipino culture and what rich truly means. The story begins with a young documentary filmmaker named Daniel Cruz, a Filipino raised in Manila, surrounded by traffic, malls, and neon lights. Daniel grew up believing wealth meant corporate towers in Makati and political families in gated villages. But when his late grandfather left him a weathered notebook filled with sketches of mountains and the word Cordillera underlined 3 times, Daniel felt called to something deeper. His grandfather had written one mysterious sentence: "The richest tribe does not live in the city." Daniel's journey led him north to the Cordillera Mountains of Luzon, homeland of the legendary Ifugao people. Known for carving rice terraces into mountainsides thousands of years ago, the Ifugao were often described in textbooks as traditional, sometimes even primitive. But Daniel had learned enough to question those labels. When his jeepney climbed narrow roads hugging steep cliffs, he saw the famous Banaue Rice Terraces, stretching like green stairways into the clouds, and he felt something shift in. The terraces were not just farmland, they were engineering masterpieces, carved by hand without modern tools. They represented knowledge passed down through generations, a living system of irrigation fed by mountain springs and guided by spiritual rituals. To the Ifugao, rice was not simply food, it was life itself. Each planting season began with prayer, each harvest with gratitude. Daniel realized that while cities measured wealth in currency, the mountains measured it in continuity, in harmony between human hands and the earth. Daniel was welcomed into a small Ifugao village by an elder named Luminawa, whose back was bent but whose voice carried strength. She told him that outsiders often arrived searching for gold or exotic images, but few stayed long enough to understand their ways. "You ask about the richest tribe," she said softly, "but rich in what?" Her question lingered in the cold mountain air. Daniel suddenly understood that his documentary would not be about ranking tribes, but about redefining wealth itself. The Ifugao once guarded literal gold as well. Before Spanish colonizers arrived in the 16th century, many indigenous groups across the archipelago crafted intricate gold jewelry, masks, and ornaments. Trade flourished with neighboring Southeast Asian kingdoms. Wealth flowed not through banks but through barter, alliance, and craftsmanship. The Spanish chroniclers themselves recorded how natives wore gold freely, even in their teeth. Yet colonization reframed power, extracting resources while labeling indigenous cultures as backward. As Daniel interviewed local historians, he learned that the Ifugao fiercely resisted Spanish control for centuries. Unlike many lowland communities, they were never fully conquered. Their mountainous terrain became both shield and sanctuary. This resistance preserved more than land, it preserved identity. Ritual chants called the Hudhud epic continued to echo across valleys, recounting ancestral heroes and moral lessons. UNESCO would later recognize these chants as masterpieces of oral heritage, but for the Ifugao, they were simply life. One evening, Daniel sat beside a fire as villagers performed a traditional dance. Gongs vibrated through his chest, and woven textiles shimmered in the firelight. Each pattern carried meaning, stories of lineage, bravery, fertility. A young girl explained that weaving was taught by mothers to daughters, thread by thread, year by year. It was slow work, deliberate work, and that patience Daniel sensed another form of richness, time invested in beauty rather than speed. Yet the modern world pressed in. Many young Ifugao left for cities or overseas work, chasing financial stability. Concrete houses slowly replaced traditional huts. Cell phone towers rose above sacred hills. Daniel struggled with a question: can cultural wealth survive economic pressure? Luminawa answered him simply. "We adapt," she said, "but we do not forget." She pointed to the terraces. As long as rice grows there, we remember who we are. Daniel began comparing different tribes across Filipino culture, searching for what made one richest. He studied the maritime power of the Tausug in the south, the artistry of the Maranao Okir designs, and the bravery embedded in Kalinga tattoo traditions. Each group held distinct treasures, language, land, spiritual systems, but the Ifugao seemed unique in how their physical environment itself became an enduring monument of culture, visible from the sky, unbroken. The Banaue Rice Terraces were often called the eighth wonder of the world, but Daniel noticed something troubling. Tourism posters celebrated the landscape without always honoring the people who sustained it. Visitors snapped photos, then left. Meanwhile, farmers worked tirelessly to maintain ancient irrigation systems. Daniel realized that cultural wealth can be exploited just like mineral wealth. Recognition must come with respect, not reduction. In Manila, Daniel once believed skyscrapers symbolized progress. Now, standing on a terrace edge at sunrise, he saw progress differently. The mountains glowed gold as mist drifted below. Generations had shaped this land without destroying it. Sustainability was not a buzzword here, it was survival. If richness includes long-term wisdom, then surely the Ifugao ranked among the wealthiest cultures. Luminawa shared stories of the Mambaki, spiritual leaders who guided rituals and healed the sick. Before planting rice, offerings were made to ancestral spirits. Before building a house, blessings were sought. These practices were not superstition to the villagers. They were frameworks of accountability, reminders that humans are not masters of nature, but partners. Daniel reflected on how modern society often forgets. As weeks passed, Daniel's camera captured more than scenery. It captured laughter during harvest feasts, children running along stone paths, elders recounting genealogies that stretched back hundreds of years. Wealth here was relational. No one ate alone during celebrations. No family was left unaided in hardship. Community functioned like extended kinship. In cities, wealth sometimes isolates. In the mountains. One afternoon, Daniel asked a bold question. If you could trade this life for city wealth, would you? Luminawa smiled. We already have wealth, she replied. You've just learned to see it. Daniel felt humbled. He had come searching for the richest tribe as if ranking cultures were possible. Instead, he discovered layers of abundance hidden in plain sight. But the story did not end in idealism. Climate change threatened the terraces with erosion and unpredictable rainfall. Modern education sometimes distanced youth from ancestral knowledge. Daniel realized that cultural wealth requires protection. Without investment, documentation, and respect, even the richest heritage can fade. His documentary shifted focus from discovery to preservation. Daniel organized a community screening of his early footage. Villagers gathered, curious and cautious. When they saw themselves on screen, planting, chanting, laughing, some wiped away tears. They were accustomed to outsiders defining them. Now, their story unfolded through their own voices. That moment felt like shared ownership of narrative, another form of richness reclaimed. In researching further, Daniel uncovered archaeological findings proving that gold artifacts were once widespread throughout the archipelago. But unlike material gold, cultural gold cannot be melted down or stolen easily. It lives in memory, ritual, and language. The Ifugao had guarded that treasure fiercely. Their mountains were vaults, not for coins, but for continuity. Daniel's grandfather's notebook suddenly made sense. The sketches were not treasure maps to buried metal. They were reminders that wealth rooted in identity outlasts economic cycles. Corporations rise and fall, currencies inflate and crash, but a chant passed from grandmother to child. As Daniel prepared to leave, he walked alone along a terraced path at dusk. Crickets sang, water trickled softly through irrigation channels. He imagined the thousands of ancestors who had stood in the same place. Their labor shaped mountains. Their faith sustained community. That was legacy, an inheritance far richer than stocks or property. Before boarding the bus back to Manila, Luminawa handed Daniel a small woven bracelet. "So you remember," she said. The bracelet was simple, made of dyed fibers, yet Daniel understood it symbolized belonging. He was no longer an outsider searching for spectacle. He was now a storyteller entrusted with cultural gold. Back in the city, Daniel edited footage late into the night. Neon lights flickered outside his window, but his mind remained in the mountains. He contrasted images of traffic congestion with flowing irrigation streams, crowded malls with communal harvest feasts. The narrative became clear. Wealth without roots feels hollow. Wealth with heritage. When the documentary premiered online, reactions poured in. Some viewers were shocked to see richness framed beyond money. Others felt pride rekindled. Teachers requested screenings for students. Conversations began about indigenous rights and cultural preservation. Daniel realized storytelling itself can generate awareness capital, another currency of change. The question lingered in every comment section. Are the Ifugao truly the richest tribe? Daniel answered carefully. Richest in preserved engineering genius, richest in sustainable agriculture, richest in oral literature recognized worldwide, richest in communal bonds. But he also acknowledged that every Filipino tribe holds incomparable treasures. In truth, the Philippines is an archipelago of layered wealth. From northern highlands to southern seas, each group carries unique brilliance shaped by geography and history. To single out one as absolutely richest risks repeating colonial hierarchies. Daniel's journey taught him nuance, celebrate distinction without diminishing others. Still, the Ifugao story remains powerful because it challenges assumptions. It proves that progress and tradition need not be enemies. It demonstrates that ancient systems can outlast modern trends. And it invites urban generations to reconnect with indigenous wisdom. Months later, Daniel revisited the Cordilleras. The terraces shimmered again under morning light. Children practiced chants. Farmers repaired stone walls. Life continued. Wealth continued. Not in headlines, not in stock markets, but in rhythm. Daniel understood now that discovering the richest tribe was never about comparison. It was about awakening. The richest tribe is the one that remembers who it is, protects its land, honors its elders, and teaches its children to do the same. By that measure, the Ifugao stand tall among the wealthiest cultures in Filipino history. As his documentary closed, Daniel's voice narrated over sweeping mountain views. We searched for gold and found green mountains. We searched for power and found prayer. We searched for riches and found resilience. The camera lingered on terraces carved like stairways to the sky, a testament to human dedication across centuries. And so, the richest tribe in Filipino culture is not defined by vaults or votes, but by values. In the highlands of the Cordillera, among the Ifugao, wealth grows quietly in rice fields and echoes in ancient chants. Perhaps the real discovery is this: when we redefine wealth, we rediscover